Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. My name is Ong Kaar Kaur Misho, and I serve as the executive director for SikhNet.com. I wanted to say thank you so much to Punjabi University and the Nod Music Institute for hosting this wonderful conference, Decoding the Musical Signatures of Sri Guru Granth Sahib. We're very honored and blessed to be able to be with all of you today, presenting our paper, Kirtan for the Sangat in the Digital Age. Now, a quick overview of what we're going to talk about today. We want to start with sharing the history of SikhNet's online Gurbani catalog and its value to the Sangat, and then talk a little bit about some of the issues we faced and what the future looks like. So let's dig in with the history of SikhNet's Gurbani catalog. The SikhNet website came online in the mid to late 1990s, and in 1997 we started our first music service called SikhNet Music Central. At the time, it was very small. We had about 37 tracks. A lot of those tracks were taken from live recordings of the Baisakhi Gurdwara in Los Angeles, USA. You can just tell from the artwork, it was back, in the days when the internet was young and fun and people were experimenting to see what was possible. In 2005, SikhNet had over 80,000 minutes of Gurbani audio available. And to help the community access the music and the katha, we organized the audio files according to genre. So, classical Gurbani Kirtan is one genre, Banis was another, Western Shabads, traditional Shabads, and it made it easier for people to navigate this growing collection of Gurbani. In 2009, we launched the Gurbani Media Center, which was sort of a much more proactive vision. It was a social media site combined with a Gurbani media listening site. So people could, create their profiles, they could like their favorite tracks, they could follow their favorite artists, and also they could access a Gurbani catalog that was continuing to grow and grow. Between 2011 and 2013, SikhNet released apps for the phone, for the Apple phone and for Android phones, so that you could access this wonderful Gurbani Media Center through your phone. And the Gurbani Media Center became the most popular service that SikhNet offered. Just recently in 2023, last April, we again did another sort of reincarnation of the Gurbani catalog on SikhNet. Now it's called SikhNet Play. The service is much more streamlined. There's more audio than ever before. It's faster, and it's very searchable and fun to use, and that's what is available today. Now I want to just show you this chart because it gives you an idea of how SikhNet, the Gurbani catalog, has grown over the years. In 1997, when we first began, we had about 710 minutes of music on SikhNet Music Central. By the time we launched the Gurbani Media Center in 2009, we had over 141,000 minutes of Gurbani-related audio, whether it was katha, kirtan, sacred chant, sahajpat, podcasts, all different kinds of Gurbani-related audio files. Today in 2024, we have over 8 times as much audio as we had back in 2009. So today we have over 1 million minutes of Gurbani-related audio on SikhNet Play, and that number continues to grow. It would take someone 2 years of listening, over 2 years of listening nonstop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to hear everything that is on SikhNet Play. Now, how is it that SikhNet has been able to deliver this for the community? We're a small nonprofit organization based in the United States, but still the Sangat has supported us over these almost 30 years to keep growing and reinventing ourselves when needed. And when we, took a step back and examined it, there were really 3 main reasons that the Sangat continues to support this service that we provide. The first reason is that it allows preservation of the past, of past audio recordings. The second reason is the Sangat listening experience. And the third reason is that this is a global platform for current Kirtan artists. So let's first talk about the past. Now, for the majority of human history, music has been a community ephemeral event. People get together, they sing, and then they remember it. And it lives on in their hearts and minds. That was true thousands of years ago. It was true in the time of Guru Nanak. And up until 150 years ago, that was it. Maybe, having music notation is the way that music was communicated from generation to generation. But in the 1960s, audio cassette recordings became super popular. So audio recording technology started about 150 years ago. And with the invention of cassette tapes, it became a mass accessible technology. So what happened in the Sikh community is that people began doing recordings of ragis at their local gurdwaras, especially if they were well-known visiting jethas. They would take their cassette recorder and they would do a live recording of the music. And then they would use that recording in their own practice. They would make copies of those recordings and share them with family and friends. In the 1980s and 1990s, this started happening with CDs. And so this underground, live recordings of jethas and Kirtan artists started happening during this time. Now, when Guru Mastak Singh started SikhNet back in the 1990s, he had a passion for preserving these live recordings. His friends and families had copies of these recordings. He didn't want to see them just tossed away in the trash. So he would take these cassettes, digitize them, and post the live recordings to SikhNet. And once he began doing this, other people got on the bandwagon. And here's, a great example from our archive. Bhai Dharam Singh Zakhmi Ji was a renowned ragi of the 60s and the 70s. He wasn't associated with any one particular institution, but he would travel around to different places. And while he was visiting Singapore, the Gurdwara management there decided that they would record him. And they created 268 recordings of Bhai Dharam Singh Ji's Kirtan and Katha. And over time, that got shared with SikhNet, this archive of live recordings. And now these recordings are memorialized on SikhNet and available to the whole Sikh community. Another example, a couple years ago, our SikhNet Play director, Jagjivan Singh Bamra, took some, cassettes that had been donated, listened to them, and we put together this wonderful series called Diamonds of Eternity with different ragis, some of whom are no longer with us, all based on live recordings that we digitized, cleaned up, and made available to the community. This issue of preservation is important even still today. So just in May of this year, a man by the name of Sudarshan Singh Darshi brought cassette recordings of Sant Baba Sujan Singh Ji's Katha and Kirtan to Manraj Singh Holland, who's one of our software engineers, our senior software engineer at SikhNet. He lives in Calgary, Canada. And now Sant Baba Sujan Singh was born in 1911, which is over 100 years ago. And these cassettes are probably from like the 1960s. So they're over 50 years old at this point. And it was important, the family flew to Calgary. They wanted to hand the cassette tapes directly to us. And we're now in the process of digitizing them and making them available to the wider community. So this issue of preservation is super important to the Sangat, and one of the reasons why SikhNet Play gets supported. And the second reason is really for the way that the Sangat listens to Gurbani and to the Guru through SikhNet. And I wanted to share this quick and easy chart with you as a comparison. About 100,000 people a day visit the Harimandir Sahib in Amritsar, kind of on regular occasions. In Bungalow Sahib at Delhi, that's about 40,000 people a day visit there. And SeekNet Play, through our web and apps, we get between 8,000 to 10,000 people a day coming to, touch the Guru's feet, listen to the Kirtan and the music. So even though, what we're doing, of course, is still not on the kind of scale that the Golden Temple, our most sacred temple, gets in terms of visitors on a daily basis. But when you compare those numbers to a lot of local Gurdwaras, SeekNet Play is actually serving a pretty significant constituency with 8 to 10,000 visits a day. So why do they come? And I won't read all of these quotes out loud. They're in the paper, but this can give you a good sense of why people are coming to listen. So one person wrote to us who's serving in the United States Army. Of course, they can't get to a Gurdwara every day, but they use the SeekNet app to, listen to Kirtan, listen to their Banis. And what this person wrote was, Gurbani allows me to make decisions with clarity that impact soldiers' lives. So that is the impact for this person of coming to SeekNet. Another person wrote to us and told us that they liked to grab the app whenever they're cooking. So I always discover something new in there, and I like it that it has Kirtan from a range of people and backgrounds, very inclusive. So cooking and just exploring the different offerings on SeekNet Play. Another quote, I love listening to the different styles of Gurbani on my walks. Now, this person is actually speaking a little bit to what a lot of people tell us. A lot of people tell us they don't have a local Gurdwara, but they come to SeekNet and they get to feel the Guru, through SeekNet Play and through the music there. I feel alone sometimes, and by using the SeekNet Play app, I feel and hear voices of hope. So the second reason is that the Sangat really has a very positive and powerful experience coming and listening to this Gurbani catalog, that SeekNet holds. The third reason that we have continued to inspire support over the years is that SeekNet is a global platform for current Kirtan artists. And here's just an example of some of the Kirtan artists who have uploaded their tracks to SeekNet Play this year. Devendra Singh is a Yash Bharti Award winner who runs the Rag and Rhythm Institute in Lucknow. He's shared some of his tracks through SeekNet Play. By Jatinder Singh Hazori Ragi from Sri Darbar Sahib, also finding it useful to share his tracks of music with the Sangat through SeekNet Play. The Nod Music Institute, we're very honored. They have shared some of their albums through SeekNet Play. And, and just to show the diversity of artists, Chudin Save Kaur Khalsa, who's a Kirtan and chant artist from Chile, she's shared some of her music this year through SeekNet Play. So there's some lovely Spanish devotional songs, that she's, shared with the community. Today's Kirtan artists are tomorrow's legacy. Ong Kaar Kaur is a world-renowned Kirtan artist. She travels the world sharing the Shabad in her own unique style. She's very well known today, but back when she was first starting out, we have some very lovely live recordings of Sanatnam in her younger years. And in this way, SeekNet Play and the SeekNet Gurbani catalog starts to create a historical record of Kirtan artists, of chant and music, and holding it online for the entire community to see it. So that's a good background about SeekNet Play, history, and why people value what we do. Now I want to talk a little about the issues that SeekNet has faced in recent times. Google, as you all know, is the largest search engine in the world. And SeekNet today, about 90% of our traffic comes through Google search. Well, a few years ago, Google started penalizing SeekNet. They blocked us from running certain ads with them. It was affecting our search rankings because they were concerned that we didn't have copyright permission to share everything that we had in our catalog. Now, in talking with them, they wanted to see copyright documentation on every single thing that we had in our archive. And of course, we had tens of thousands of tracks, and it was just an impossible task. So we had to face this issue. And there's this blurriness around the issue of Kirtan ownership, which I don't want to get too deeply into, but it kind of, it's on the one hand, we want to support our ragis and we want to honor the music they do and make sure that they are taken care of to carry the traditions from generation to generation. But on the other hand, there's not such strict ideas of ownership from like a copyright perspective, because everyone recognizes a communitarian aspect to Kirtan. So a lot of what we did was based on handshake agreements, like with many Gurdwara radio broadcasts, some that date back decades. There were never legal contracts involved. It was just, a verbal agreement, an email, a handshake, and that's how we got to share the music. The cassettes and the CD donations of all these live recordings were done without any chain of custody documents. I couldn't even tell you who donated which recordings. Nobody was thinking that way. They were just thinking, oh, I don't want this treasure to get lost. SikhNet, can you please preserve it? So there was a culture clash that we had to navigate, that we are still navigating, between kind of big technology, copyright considerations, and kind of a more communitarian, social, Sangat social agreements through which the music and, the broadcast rights came to SikhNet. Just to quickly touch on this, Article 18 of the UN Declarations of Human Rights, discusses how people have the right to manifest their religion, the way that they see fit. And these big technology companies are not beholden to honoring religious freedom. They don't have any treaties. They just get to look at everything through their lens, regardless of what, we might want to say, well, our framework is a little bit different than yours. So what SikhNet did is we worked with a media lawyer. We came up with a copyright policy so that anybody who thinks we should not have music, that they have the ownership and we're sharing the music, it's easy to contact us and get that music taken down. But we've also developed a fair use policy where we kind of have a framework as a educational nonprofit, a religious nonprofit, for why and how we can share this music. And after a couple years of hard work on this, and it wasn't easy to sort through these issues and understand them, we did get Google to reverse a lot of their ban on us. They understood the framework we had, and it worked within their framework of copyright. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because as musicians become more and more online, and digital music is held in these big corporations for the most part, this issue of how we balance the communitarian concerns, social Sangat concerns of Kirtan with copyright law is going to become an important conversation. Now, in the last couple minutes, just to wrap this up, I want to talk about, how we afford this work. And I want to start by talking about Spotify. Now, Spotify is one of the largest digital music companies in the world. They do have some Gurbani Kirtan on their platform, but we are a niche offering for them. We are not the focus. We are a niche offering. And between, 2019 and 2023, their revenue doubled. So in 2023, Spotify's revenue was 13 billion euros. That's a billion with a B. It's about 16 billion US dollars. And that was double what it was just 4 years ago. So 13 billion euros in 1 year. This tells us how important, powerful the digital music space continues to grow. SikhNet, we're a community-oriented service, and we have been for almost 30 years. Free access. We don't charge anybody to access the music. We don't do any advertising so that you can have your own sovereign experience with the Guru. We're purely donor supported through individuals and grants. And our revenue is a little less than $1 million a year. So we're floating around the $1 million a year in US dollars mark, whereas the Spotifys of the world are 13 billion euros in revenue. So we're kind of this small small but mighty, powerful community platform to share Kirtan, and we are by the Sangat for the Sangat, and we are wholly supported by the Sangat. So just to wrap this up quickly, what is SikhNet's future? Well, SikhNet's future is something we create together. Our partnerships with up-and-coming Kirtan artists are important to us. This year, we've been working with Gavani, which is kind of a women-focused Kirtan program. They do live samagams, and now we're releasing recordings of their samagams through albums, and we're really happy for these partnerships. So the big technology space is going to continue to grow and grow. They're going to gobble up everything that they can. But SikhNet is very committed to staying independent, to staying free, and to continuing to partner with all of you who would like to work with us in the spirit of serving the Sangat through SikhNet to preserve and share Kirtan with the world. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation. We're very grateful to be with you. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.